My name is Patricia J. Heiser. I'm 34 and I run a mid-sized construction supply company in Ohio that my father started back in the 80s. It's not glamorous, but it pays well. Keeps me busy about 60 hours a week. And until 8 months ago, I thought all that work was building a future with someone who actually wanted to be in it. I had been with Adrian for almost 4 years. We met at a charity fundraiser where I was sponsoring a youth center renovation. He worked in event planning and had that kind of energy that pulls people in before they even understand why. Confident, warm, quick with names, quick with stories, the kind of man who could make a room feel softer just by walking into it. He had a daughter, Kennedy, from a previous relationship. She was 7 when we met, 11 by the time everything fell apart. Sweet kid, artistic, always sketching elaborate fantasy worlds in her notebooks. I loved that child, like she had grown into my life on purpose. Things weren't perfect, but they were good enough that I trusted them. Adrian had expensive tastes, nice shoes, weekend spa getaways, with friends, that sort of thing. I didn't mind. I made good money, and for a long time, seeing him happy felt like part of my job in the relationship. My only real complaint was that over the last few months, he had gone distant. Less affectionate, more guarded, always on his phone. If I asked, he blamed work, stressful clients, demanding deadlines, event season. I believed him because love makes liars out of our instincts sometimes. March 14th started like any other Tuesday. I got up at 5:30, went for my usual run, came home sweaty and half awake, and found Adrian already in the shower. He had been getting up earlier lately, which felt odd because his office didn't open until 9. But I told myself maybe he was trying to get healthier, maybe he was hitting the gym, maybe it meant nothing. Around 11 o'clock that morning, I was in a meeting with a lumber distributor when my phone buzzed. It was Adrian. I stepped out to call him back. It rang 4 times, then I got a text instead. In meetings today. Can't talk. Busy all day. Love you. Something about it hit wrong immediately. Adrian always answered my calls, always, even if only to say he'd call me back later. But I pushed the feeling down and went back into the meeting like discipline could keep suspicion from spreading. Then at 1:47 p.m., my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but answered on instinct. A woman introduced herself as Patricia Holbrook from Luminous Events, Adrian's supervisor. She was trying to reach him because he had called in sick that morning and now wasn't answering. She said there was a client emergency. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might actually be sick. I kept my voice steady, lied for him automatically, said he was probably sleeping and I'd have him call when he woke up. Then I hung up and sat in my truck staring at the dashboard like it might offer some version of reality I could survive. The logical part of my brain tried to rescue him. Maybe he did have a migraine. Maybe he didn't want to worry me. Maybe he forgot to mention it. But logic has limits when your body already knows. I opened the Ring app. We had installed cameras 6 months earlier after someone broke into a neighbor's garage. 1 camera at the front door, 1 at the back. I pulled up that morning's footage and pressed play. At 7:23 a.m., Adrian walked out the front door wearing the navy shirt I had complimented the week before, hairstyled, shoes polished, not sick, not exhausted, not alone. A woman walked out with him, mid-30s, slim, dressed like she belonged in a hotel lobby and knew it. She laughed at something he said. He touched the small of her back as they walked to her car. She opened the passenger door for him. He got in. They drove away. I watched it 3 times. Then I downloaded it. Then I backed it up. I went home that afternoon and pretended to work from my laptop, though all I really did was stare at spreadsheets without seeing them. Adrian came home around 6:20, exactly when he usually would, carrying takeout from our favorite Thai place, smiling, kissing my cheek, spinning some neat little story about a nightmare client and a frantic day at the office. He smelled like cologne that wasn't mine. I sat there listening to him lie with the easy rhythm of someone who had done it enough times to trust himself. Over dinner, he asked about my day. I answered normally. He told me his parents wanted us over for dinner Friday night. Family thing, nothing major. Kennedy would be there too. She had new drawings to show me. That nearly broke me. Not because of Adrian, because of her. Because children always end up standing near the ruins adults build with their selfishness. That night, Adrian fell asleep with his head on my shoulder like he still belonged there. I stared at the ceiling and made my choice. I would not confront him yet. I would not give him room to wriggle out, rewrite, minimize, or drip feed me half-truths. Thursday afternoon, I hired a private investigator named Ron. He came recommended by my attorney. I showed him the ring footage and told him to get me the full picture. By Friday morning, he had. Her name was Christine Voss, 36, investment banker, luxury car, country club membership. He texted me updates fast and clean. Coffee Tuesday, lunch Wednesday, hotel meeting Thursday afternoon. That hotel detail was the line. The ugly final confirmation I had not wanted but absolutely needed. Friday night came and Adrian stood in the bathroom doing his makeup for family dinner while I sat in the living room connecting my laptop to a TV cable, queuing footage, arranging photographs, building a neat little presentation out of the destruction of my life. When we drove to his parents' house, he held my hand the whole way. I let him, because by then I already knew exactly how the night was going to end. His parents' house looked exactly the same as it always did. Warm lights through the windows, the faint smell of something slow-cooked drifting out the front door. The kind of place that feels safe before you step inside and realize safety depends entirely on what people are willing to hide. Linda opened the door with a smile that felt genuine. Robert followed close behind, steady and welcoming, the kind of man who shook your hand like it meant something. They had always treated me like family, and that was part of what made everything sitting in my laptop feel heavier. Kennedy ran straight at me the second I stepped inside. Pat, come see what I drew, she said, grabbing my hand with both of hers. I forced a smile and squeezed her fingers gently. After dinner, okay? I promise. She nodded, satisfied, and ran back toward the living room. Adrian's brother Justin was already there with his wife. Everyone moved through the usual routine. Coats hung up, drinks poured, small talk exchanged. Laughter came easily, naturally, like this was just another normal Friday night. I watched Adrian the whole time. He moved like nothing was wrong, like he hadn't spent the last 3 months lying to me. Like he hadn't spent that morning getting into a stranger's car while telling his boss he was too sick to work. He even reached for my hand at one point, squeezing it lightly under the table. I let him, because I needed him to believe the illusion a little longer. Dinner was pot roast, Robert's favorite. Everyone talked over each other in that comfortable way families do. Stories from work, jokes about old neighbors, Kennedy interrupting every few minutes to share another detail about whatever world she was drawing in her notebook. I smiled when I needed to, nodded when expected, answered questions. But inside, everything was still. Completely still. Because once you see the truth, there's no noise left. Only clarity. Linda brought out dessert, apple pie, still warm, the smell filling the room in a way that should have felt comforting. That's when I stood up. I need to show everyone something, I said. The words cut through the room. Not loud, not aggressive, just final. Adrian froze. I saw it immediately. The shift. Patricia, what? He started. It won't take long, I said, already moving toward the TV. I connected my laptop. The screen flickered, then stabilized. Everyone turned. Confused. Curious. Linda smiled politely, like she expected a photo or a video from work. Justin leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Adrian stood up slowly. Please don't, he said quietly, stepping toward me. Tears were already forming. He knew. Of course he knew. Because people always know when the lie is about to collapse. Tell them, I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. Patricia, please, he whispered. I pressed play. The ring footage filled the screen. 7:23 a.m. Adrian walking out the front door. The navy shirt. The confident stride. Then her, Christine, laughing. Touching him. Opening the car door. Him getting in. Driving away. The timestamp sat in the corner of the screen like a signature. No one spoke. No one moved. The silence was thick enough to feel. Then I switched to the photos. One after another. Lunch. Coffee. Outside the hotel. His hand on her back. Her leaning into him like she belonged there. The room didn't just go quiet. It collapsed. Patricia, Linda's voice broke first. Robert's jaw tightened so hard I thought I heard his teeth grind. Justin muttered something under his breath that didn't need repeating. Adrian stepped closer. Closer to me. Like proximity could undo what was already exposed. What have you done? He said, tears spilling freely now. Please don't do this. Tell them, I said again. My voice cracked that time. Not from doubt. From exhaustion. Tell them who she is. He shook his head. I can't. Yes, you can. Silence stretched. Then broke. Her name is Christine, he said, his voice barely holding together. We've been seeing each other. Linda made a sound like something inside her had physically snapped. For how long? Robert asked. His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. 3 months, Adrian said. 3 months. The number landed like a weight. 3 months? Linda repeated, tears already falling. You've been lying to her for 3 months? And to us, Justin added, his voice sharp now. Adrian didn't answer, because there was nothing left to hide behind. How did it start? I asked. My voice sounded distant, like I was listening to someone else speak. At a networking event, he said, in January. And you gave her your number? Yes. And you started meeting? Yes. And when did you sleep with her? Silence. Heavy. Adrian, I said. February 8th, he whispered. February 8th. 6 days before Valentine's Day. We had gone out that night. Dinner, wine. He told me he loved me, held my hand across the table, came home with me. That memory hit harder than anything on the screen. You told me you loved me that week, I said. I did, he said quickly. No, I said quietly. You said it. There's a difference. Robert stood up. I think you need to leave, he said. Adrian looked at him. Dad. Now. The word cut clean. No room for negotiation. No space for excuses. Linda turned away, covering her face. Justin stepped toward the hallway. Melissa, take Kennedy upstairs, he called to his wife. They moved quickly, quietly, protecting the one person who didn't deserve to be part of any of this. Adrian grabbed his jacket, didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone. He just left. The front door slammed harder than anything else that night. And then, silence. Long, heavy, unavoidable. I'm sorry, I said finally. Linda shook her head immediately, walking toward me. No, she said, pulling me into a hug. You have nothing to apologize for. Her hands were shaking. So were mine. Because the truth doesn't just expose one person. It breaks everything around them too. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. The house. It wasn't just a place anymore. It was evidence. Every corner of it held something I wasn't ready to sit with yet. So I checked into a hotel a few miles away. Something clean and anonymous. Somewhere that didn't know my name or my story. My phone didn't stop. Texts. Calls. Voicemails. Adrian. 47 messages. 63 calls. I stopped counting after that. At 2 a.m., I blocked his number. Not out of anger. Out of necessity. Because I needed silence more than I needed answers. The next morning, Justin met me at the house. He didn't say much. Just nodded, grabbed boxes, and started packing. We moved through it like a job. Efficient. Focused. Final. Adrian's clothes. His shoes. His things. Everything went into boxes and then into a storage unit I had already arranged the night before. By noon, it was done. By 1 o'clock, I had a locksmith changing the locks. By 2 o'clock, the house was mine again. Empty. But mine. I unblocked his number briefly and sent one message. Your belongings are in storage. You have 30 days. That was it. No explanation. No emotion. Just terms. He showed up Sunday morning. Of course he did. He stood on the porch like he belonged there. Like he still had a right to be. Can I come in? He asked. No. The word came easily. We stood there. Two people who used to share a life. Now separated by a door. I ended it with her, he said quickly. It's over. Completely. It was a mistake. I watched him. Really watched him. Not the man I loved. The man he actually was. You ended it after you got caught, I said. That doesn't matter. It matters, I cut in. Everything about this matters. He ran his hands through his hair, pacing like he was trying to find the version of this conversation where he came out looking better. I love you, he said again. There it was. The same line. Still empty. You lied to me every day for 3 months, I said. You let me build a future with you, while you were building something else behind my back. I was confused. No, I said, you were comfortable. That stopped him. Because it was true. You had everything you needed, I continued, and you decided to risk it anyway. He looked at me like he was trying to find a way back. There wasn't one. What about Kennedy? He asked finally. There it was. The only part that hurt. She loves you, he said. She's going to be devastated. My chest tightened. Because that was the only innocent piece in all of this. I love her too, I said quietly. But you should have thought about that before you did what you did. He didn't respond. Because he couldn't. Because there was nothing left to defend. Can you at least still be in her life? He asked. I hesitated. That was the only question that wasn't about him. I need time, I said. But that has nothing to do with you anymore. He nodded slowly. Defeated. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't fix something you chose to break. He left after that. No scene. No fight. Just gone. I went inside, closed the door, and for the first time since this started, I cried. Not for him. For what I thought we had. For what I let myself believe. 8 months later, things are different. Not perfect, but real. I sold the house 3 months after everything happened. Too many memories. Too many echoes. I moved into a condo downtown, closer to work, closer to a version of my life that felt like mine again. The company is doing better than ever. Turns out throwing yourself into work helps. Maybe not in the healthiest way. My therapist says I should find better outlets. I'm working on it. I started seeing someone. Nothing serious yet. Just coffee. Conversation. Someone who doesn't make me feel like I'm constantly being measured against something invisible. I still see Kennedy. Once a month. Lunch. Just the two of us. She doesn't ask questions. She doesn't need to. Kids understand more than we think. Adrian and the other woman lasted a month. Then it ended. Predictable. He tried reaching out again. Twice. I didn't respond, because there's nothing left to say. His mother called me once. Karen. She apologized. Said what he did was unacceptable. Said I didn't deserve it. She was right. But it didn't change anything. A few months ago, I ran into Adrian at a grocery store. He looked older. Tired. Like the version of himself he tried to chase had cost him more than he expected. I'm moving, he said. Out of state. I nodded. Oh, that's good, I said. I'm sorry, he added. I looked at him. Calm. Clear. I know. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? He asked. I thought about it, honestly. Eventually, I said, but not in a way that brings you back into my life. He nodded, like he already knew. And that was the last time I saw him. Now, I wake up in a place that feels like mine. I go to work. I build something real. I spend time with people who don't make me question my worth. And for the first time in a long time, I feel steady. Not because everything is perfect, but because I stopped trying to hold on to something that was already gone. I didn't lose him. I lost the illusion. And that was the best thing that could have happened.